Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, as controversy continues over the influx of asylum seekers at the southern border, we hear a story of one woman who made it through legally.
Sometimes I get hopeless, thinking I'll say yes to the people telling me to jump. But no. What am I, crazy? I'm not crazy. I'm going to wait.
We take an in-depth look into her journey from Nicaragua to America. Plus, more than 1,000 homeless advocates gather right here in San Diego to discuss the crisis across the nation, how they plan to shelter those in need. And San Diego County isn't just seeing low temperatures and rain, snow is also here, where you can find it. And a look at the forecast for the rest of the week. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susan Murphy. As the Trump administration continues to push for funding for a border wall to address what the president calls an invasion of people, asylum-seeking families continue to trickle through legally. KPBS border reporter Jean Guerrero spoke to one asylum seeker who made it through the port of entry.
It's been a long journey for Karen Perez and her 4 children. They fled Nicaragua seeking asylum in the U.S. The family was among thousands of Central Americans who traveled with a migrant caravan that captured the attention of President Trump in November. Trump continues to characterize a surge of people at the border as an invasion. But Perez is representative of the increase. She entered legally through a port of entry. Only about 4,400 families crossed illegally last year through San Diego, according to Customs and Border Protection. Meanwhile, nearly 16,000 presented themselves at ports of entry, up from 7,000 the year before.
I'm a single mom, but I've always fought to get ahead with my kids.
This is the family's first time seeing the ocean in America, at Imperial Beach.
It's very pretty here. In my country, there's beaches too. It's called Paso Caballo. It reminds me of home.
Perez's case shows what many asylum seekers go through to get to the U.S. After the family waited weeks on a makeshift asylum wait list handled by asylum seekers, she and the kids were called to the San Ysidro port of entry last month. They passed a credible fear interview and were released by U.S. Customs and Border Protection with a GPS monitoring ankle bracelet. They have a notice to appear in U.S. immigration court for their asylum case. We first met Perez in Tijuana at a migrant shelter called Barretal. She'd put her name on the asylum waitlist and had no idea if she was ever going to get into the U.S. Perez was anxious because American left-wing activists were coming and telling her to jump the fence. She didn't want to put her children's lives at risk or break any laws.
Sometimes I get hopeless, thinking I'll say yes to the people telling me to jump. But no. What am I, crazy? I'm not crazy. I'm going to wait.
The wait paid off. After several weeks of waiting in Tijuana, the family was allowed into the U.S. After a day of sleeping on the street in San Diego with no idea where to go, a stranger took them to a migrant shelter run by the San Diego Rapid Response Network. It was a place to sleep and eat for a few days, until she got in touch with a relative who lives in Miami and offered to help her. The San Diego Rapid Response Network says most asylum seekers have relatives in the U.S. who can help them, typically within 48 hours of their arrival. KPBS wasn't allowed to film at the shelter, so we brought Perez to the beach, which the family enjoyed for the first time, the day before traveling to Miami.
My plan is for my kids to study, look for a job, and make sure my kids succeed. And even if I can study, I might study and learn English.
She says she hopes the U.S. gives her family a chance to stay because she says she doesn't feel safe going back to Nicaragua. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
Nonprofit service providers, government leaders, and Hollywood actors are in San Diego this week to come up with new ways to address homelessness. The National Alliance to End Homelessness is putting on the event. It's focusing on solutions for single adults. The organization says they make up about 2/3 of homeless population, but are often overlooked.
It's very possible for us to end homelessness in the country. There are about 550,000 homeless people at a given time. That's well within our ability to address. So it's really the political will that makes it happen. There's a lot of will, for example, around veterans, and we've cut veteran homelessness by more than half. So we could do it, we just have to decide we're gonna do it.
Actor Emilio Estevez attended one of today's sessions. He directed a new film called The Public, which spotlights homeless issues. HUD Secretary Ben Carson will attend the conference tomorrow. California has well over 100,000 homeless. In Sacramento, there's a new push to streamline the way money is spent on homeless programs. A state lawmaker in Fullerton wants to reorganize nearly $500 million that's spent per year on homeless initiatives. Right now, the money is split up into several departments, which can complicate the grant process.
All of those applications are different applications, and many times the deadlines to even apply are different timelines. So for many cities, especially the cities that do not have a full-time maybe housing grant writer or a full-time planner that can do this, they miss those opportunities.
Supporters of the idea say reorganizing the way homeless money is spent will make it easier to get people into apartments and better support programs for mental health. A gang shooting gone wrong is still having an impact in southeast San Diego more than 15 years after it occurred. In the shooting outside Dr. J's Liquor, 2 innocent women on their way home from church were killed. As KPBS investigative reporter Claire Trageser tells us, that story led to a surge in police presence.
On a Friday night late last year, a group was gathered in the auditorium at the Jackie Robinson YMCA in Choice View. There was no bar and no alcohol, but catering staff were passing around trays of appetizers, and almost everyone was dressed up. That includes Armand King, who always looks sharp. Even if he's just wearing a t-shirt, he'll have on sneakers in exactly the same color. It was his event, a graduation ceremony for his nonprofit Paving Great Futures, and he took the stage to talk about his programs, which work with students at low-income schools and train people in culinary skills.
And there's some people out here that are being neglected, not recognized, and oftentimes shunned. So use us, not use, I hate the word use, let's change it, a U word, utilize us to get to the people that need the help the most.
One by one, people who completed his training classes went up to the stage to get a diploma. But when one particular young man was called up, King hopped back on the microphone.
We're hijacking the stage real quick, I hope you don't mind. But this gentleman right here is an example of what we're trying to do. Got something for this guy right here that he had no idea he's gonna get this big fake check.
King pulled out one of those giant novelty checks. It was written out for $1,000. The man receiving it was Musla Abdul Hafiz. He was living in the neighborhood when the 2 women were shot outside Dr. J's Liquor and remembers it well.
When God let that happen to them old ladies, it shined a light on Southeast San Diego. You know what I'm saying? What's going on out here? You know what I'm saying? Why is all these shootings? Why are these people dying? Ain't nobody going to jail? Because the police don't care.
Abdul Hafiz says after the shootings, it was different, and not in a good way.
Man, it's like, in Ferguson, they was rolling around in tanks and stuff like that. Big military trucks, they was rolling around here like that. It was Operation Shut Down Skyline. It was a war against Skyline, the community of Skyline.
Let's say we're investigating a gang crime, and the particular suspect is believed to be from one of the local gang areas. And I'm very open and honest with them that, that area is going to be flooded with officers who are looking for witnesses, looking for other potential victims, and looking for some type of cooperation.
Lieutenant Manny Del Toro has been with the San Diego Police Department for almost 30 years and spent a lot of time in the Southeastern Division. He says he has heard the criticism before that after a shooting like the one at Dr. J's, there were too many police officers and too many arrests.
We don't get a lot of cooperation in the gang cases, so it forces us to, at times, take extra enforcement action in a particular area.
But Del Toro also says that for every person who's complaining about over-policing, there's also someone who's complaining the police don't do enough.
I asked them to put themselves in the shoes of the community member who is a good kid, was a victim, was really an innocent bystander, don't we owe it to that person as well, who would maybe even say that they're under-policing or that we don't care enough to put a lot of effort into it.
And that's what happened after the Dr. J shooting. Some people saw it as flooding the streets with officers arresting everybody. Others actually became more willing to work with police.
I was in tears, and I said, you know, we've got to do something. This is out of hand.
Abdur Rahim Hamid is the founder of the Black Contractors Association in San Diego. After the shooting, he joined up with other black leaders from the area and started a group called Black Men United.
I put out a flyer, you know, asking for information and a reward. And I said, brothers don't kill brothers, and they damn sure don't kill mothers.
Black Men United had multiple approaches. Some members went out to meet with gang leaders to ask them to call a truce and stop the violence. They worked on finding jobs for people who were in gangs and wanted out. And the group started working with police, which created a generational divide.
And it really, to some degree, turned the young people away from being close with Black Men United, because they didn't want to be involved with an organization that appeared to have an alliance with law enforcement.
We had a lot of elders from our community that were now reaching out to law enforcement to what they would say is, please come stop the violence.
Armand King says the generational rift about whether to work with police still exists today.
That was kind of like the green light to law enforcement to come in and just smash on black and brown individuals that fit the description of a gang member. And their excuse was the community is reaching out for us to do it.
Whether people liked it or not, there was more police presence and more community cooperation. It's hard to draw any direct correlations from this, but after the shooting, crime did start to go down. 2 years later, the violent crime rate in the area had dipped, and in 2017, the rate was down by almost half. Along with boosting police presence, the police chief also did something else. He started a task force to solve the murders of the two women. But for many years, it didn't look like they were going to have any success. Tomorrow, we'll talk about how police eventually landed on a suspect. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
For a longer version of this story and the rest of this series, subscribe to our podcast, San Diego Stories, or go to kpbs.org/J. A 14-year-old girl is the first child to die in the county from the flu this season. The girl did not get the flu shot and had underlying medical complications. According to the county, a total of 5 people died from the flu last week. The other 4 fatalities were between the ages of 56 and 82. In San Diego, at least 35 people have died from the flu this season, compared to 268 last year. Health officials urge everyone over the age of 6 months to get vaccinated. Earlier in the week, we brought you a story about the rising number of cases of an intestinal disease in San Diego. Shigellosis spreads through the feces and usually affects people for less than a week, but it can be deadly for people with weak immune systems. Over the years, cases have been reported an increase in San Diego. Health officials say the increase is due to improvements in diagnosing the disease, and there haven't been any outbreaks. Gay men, people who are homeless, and young children are more at risk to contract shigellosis. Escondido's new mayor is holding monthly Meet the Mayor forums in an effort to encourage public participation. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says residents are thankful for the chance to grab the mayor's ear.
And just have a series of locks.
Chris Mason says he's lived in Escondido for 33 years.
I didn't feel like our past mayor was very welcoming of public commentary.
He asked about opening up legal marijuana dispensaries at the meeting.
There's some revenue out there that could be definitely realized by the city.
Escondido Mayor Paul McNamara was sworn in last December.
One of the things you learn on the campaign trail is that people are passionate about all sorts of things, and you want to have a chance for them to come talk. And this is kind of an extension of that. It's just come out and talk to the mayor personally and share your ideas.
How to tackle the city's homeless population was brought up multiple times at the meeting. There are 2 more Meet the Mayor events planned for Escondido. McNamara says he'll take feedback from residents and try to have city staff address those concerns. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The San Diego County Water Authority's general manager notified the region's water board that she is retiring. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has a look at some of her career.
Maureen Stapleton has held the top job at the agency for more than 2 decades. She led the authority through the complicated settlement negotiations surrounding the Colorado River. That deal clearing the way for a huge water transfer with the Imperial Valley that provided a significant chunk of local drinking water. She also encouraged projects like the Carlsbad desalination plant as a way to diversify the region's water supply. Her tenure was marked by a bitter public feud with the Los Angeles-based Metropolitan Water District over the cost of water, and the Water Authority investigated a claim that she harassed one of her own board members last year. Sandy Curl will step in as acting general manager while a search is underway for a replacement. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
It was another rainy day in San Diego. Parts of the county even saw snow, but some local students didn't mind at all. Hundreds of students from San Diego County schools got to enjoy a snow day today. This is video of them. They're currently at 6th grade camp at Cuyamaca Outdoor School in Descanso. Their snow day included sledding, snow angels, and building snowmen. It was the first time many of the kids saw snow. For more on the rain and snow, let's go to meteorologist Daji Aswad.
It has been a wet Thursday here. We've been tracking out a low pressure system that brought cold air, dropping those snow levels to about 2,000 feet in some areas here across Southern California. Now here's a look at the satellite and radar from earlier today. It was quite active. Once again, snow and rain are what we've been experiencing here across San Diego County, and on those higher elevations, really talking about snow. Now, as far as our rainfall totals go, not super impressive. And towards San Diego International Airport, 0.16 inches, Brownfield, 0.49 inches of rain, and Ramona 0.72, coming a little bit above 1 inch of rain in Alpine. Now, as we continue into your snowfall from 24 hours as of this morning, Green Valley Lake, which is close to Big Bear Lake, 14 inches in the last 24 hours. Mount Laguna, 13 inches, and we could still see some snow coming down in Julian tonight. 4 inches have been reported as of 24 hours as of this morning. Now we continue to see weather alerts in place. Winter storm warning for Borrego Springs, Julian, and Pine Valley. That will last into the overnight hours and then expire as we head into your Friday. And to tonight, we're still going to be talking about snow coming in towards Mount Laguna in that 6 to 12 inch zone. We'll be looking at, once again, additional snowfall to continue. But really, as we continue through tonight, that wet weather disappears for San Diego as well as into Oceanside. We'll have more into your extended forecast.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, I sit down with former acting director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, to talk about his dealings with President Trump and his book. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Pope Francis opens a 4-day sex abuse summit, announcing molestation and rape by members of the church will not be ignored. It's taking place in Vatican City with 190 leaders in attendance. The Pope told the Catholic hierarchy to listen to the cry of the young who want justice. A leading Filipino cardinal also spoke and told his fellow bishops each of them must take responsibility for the harm caused to the community.
We humbly and sorrowfully admit that wounds have been inflicted by us, bishops, on the victims, and in fact, the entire body of Christ. Our lack of response to the suffering of victims, even to the point of rejecting them and covering up the scandal to protect perpetrators and the institution, has injured our people, leaving a deep wound in our relationship with those we are sent to serve.
Although the crimes have been going on for decades, criticism of the Catholic Church erupted last year when Pennsylvania Attorney General released a grand jury report claiming more than 300 priests had abused at least 1,000 victims over 70 years. Clergy members of all faiths should be required to report suspected child abuse, even if they learn of it during private confession. That's according to lawmakers at the state capitol. A proposed bill would remove an exemption in the state's mandated reporter law. The law currently allows clergy members to keep suspected child abuse confidential if the information is obtained during a penitential communication, like a Catholic confession. Lawmakers say the loophole is only hurting children.
But the faith community and the faith leaders are exempt from that law and that mandatory reporting. Some, I believe, have used that as a loophole to shield and protect abusers from the law and from seeking whatever help they may need to get.
Lawmakers behind the measure say they are expecting to receive some opposition from faith communities. The rain continues in San Diego. We have snow in some parts of the county and hail inland. This video was shot outside of our KPBS studios just minutes ago. Although it's rainy now, the wet weather is slowly moving out. Meteorologist Daji Aswad has our forecast for the rest of the week.
Here in San Diego tonight, we're dropping down to 41 degrees, saying goodbye to the wet weather. Snowy conditions will continue to press its way towards the east as that low pressure also tracks its way to the east. So tonight in Oceanside, you're looking at a low of 32, Borrego Springs a low 41, and 20 in Mount Laguna. Mount Laguna, you will still have a chance for some snow to come your way, so some difficult travel if you live in that area or plan to do any traveling tonight and into those early morning hours, and then noticing some relief into tomorrow with just some snow showers. Into our Friday across California, we got drier air pressing its way on in. Once again, disturbance continues to track its way out towards the Four Corners. We'll be looking at impressive snow coming down across Arizona and towards portions of Utah, as well as in New Mexico and Colorado. But we overall will begin to dry out here for Oceanside. San Diego topping off in the upper 50s. Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna still going to be on the cloudy side, and even a chance for some shower activity to pop up in Borrego Springs for your Friday with a high of 63. And to the weekend, drier air taking over for Southern California. We'll be watching another storm system develop into the plains, and that will continue to press its way into the eastern half of the U.S. Not going to be too concerned with that unless you're traveling, of course. You can anticipate a major travel delays in towards Minnesota, Wisconsin, even out towards the southeast, where they'll be dealing with the chance for some severe weather. But here along the coast, you're looking at a warming trend coming out of the 50s into the 60s and even the mid 60s by Tuesday, with mostly sunny to partly sunny skies for the next several days. Inland also going to notice a warming trend here. 58 for your Friday, 62 on Saturday, and then remaining in the 60s to about Monday. Then we'll be topping off at 71 on Tuesday. Also to notice some warmer air in towards the mountains. Once again tonight, still going to be dealing with heavy snow. Then those snow showers tapering on off for your morning. Mostly sunny, still cool Saturday, topping off in the lower 40s, and then by Tuesday topping off at 51 with clouds and sun mixing. Desert's also going to be looking at that warming trend. Still a chance for some showers tomorrow morning, then a dry, warm forecast into your late weekend and early week. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Daji Aswad. Back to you.
This weekend, we get a visit from Justin Timberlake, plus celebrate a local jazz legend and have beer with ballerinas. Here to give us details, KPBS Arts editor Nina Guerin.
Over the years, Justin Timberlake has been a lot of things. A member of the boy band NSYNC, a comedian, an adored pop star, and most recently, a man of the woods. But I'm a man of the woods, it's my pride. His latest tour embraces this outdoor personality with a show that features a real campfire on stage, nature projections, and plenty of artificial trees and grass. And while he will be performing songs from his latest album, you'll still hear classic JT favorites. Plus, those trademark dance moves and flair for showmanship are still very much a part of Timberlake's personality. Beer isn't really a drink associated with classical dance, except at California Ballet, where their beer and ballet program returns for its third year. This event takes a more casual approach to ballet. Instead of performing traditional variations, dancers choreograph short 10-minute pieces, mixing elements of ballet with more modern movements. This year, the show moves to a larger venue, and the evening includes a drink and appetizers. The dancers mingle with the crowd after the show and welcome your thoughts and opinions. Finally, San Diego-based jazz saxophonist Charles McPherson celebrates his 80th birthday with a concert featuring his New York City quartet. Jeb Patton on piano, Jeff Littleton on bass, and Billy Drummond on drums. Later this year, McPherson will be honored at Lincoln Center for his contribution to bebop, blues, and jazz. Over the years, McPherson has continued to tour while also collaborating with San Diego's art scene. The intimate local concert will be kind of like a preview of the New York celebration. For KPBS Arts, I'm Nina Guerin.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, Black Panther is one of the contenders for Best Picture at the Academy Awards this weekend. We'll talk to the designer who built a new world for the people of Wakanda. And on Roundtable, the sanctuary state law was designed to protect immigrants living and working in California illegally. The key state documents helping ICE agents get around the law and make arrests. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.